What's up, guys? Coming at you with a deck profile. We have here.
Dimitri Augart Peponis.
And what did you play?
I played Orcust and I ended up finishing top 64 at the NAWCQ. I then went on to sadly lose in top 64 to the Salmon Great player who got second in Swiss.
Alright, congrats, man.
Thanks.
Any shoutouts?
Yeah. Shoutouts to my team, Team Endgame, all the members, Ryan Sano, who's behind the camera, Ryan May, Alan, Jesus, Sebastian, Jet, Paul, and of course Jacob, aka BladeYGO, and then also shout out to the rest of the people who are not on our team but still like super chill, like Tam and Josh and the rest of the people from Core TCG, which is our locals that we play at. And also shout out to all my opponents for being just really, really good throughout the event. I think I've had probably the best set of opponents in terms of the nicest set of opponents I've ever had. Especially shout out to our Rental opponent. Dude, you were a super awesome guy. And let's get right into the deck profile then.
Alright, let's get into it.
Okay, so as I said before, I'm playing Orcust. My main deck is 42 cards. Getting into the main deck, we have 3 copies of Harp Horror, 2 copies of Nightmare, 1 copy of Symbol Skeleton, and 1 copy of Wand. This is pretty standard for the Orcust ratios. I think it's solid. I've seen some people trying out 2 symbols. I personally think that 1's enough, and because you really just don't want to hard draw it.
Yeah.
Continuing on, for the rest of the ordinary monsters, we have the Phantom Knight Engine, 1 Cloak, and 2 Silent Boots. There's a bit of controversy between 1 or 2 boots. I like the second boots because personally, I don't think it's that bad to open. It's good discard fodder. You can extend with it really well. And just in general, I don't hate opening it. I'd much rather open it than Cloak. And also this way, if you open a Phantom Knight monster, you can still go full combo. Where the other variants, if you open a Phantom Knight monster, you can't go full combo.
Sounds good.
And then for the final engine monsters, for the Trick Stars, just 1 Canino, 1 Corbane. We were on the 3 light stage to go with it.
Did you ever think about playing a second Corbane during the entire event?
Honestly, no. I'm really happy with how I had it because I'm basically running 4 Corbanes as is because I'm running the 3 light stages. So, like, you never would need double Corbane at any given point, so why run double Corbane and risk bricking on it?
Alright.
And finally, for the last of the monsters, I ran a few hand traps. I ran 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 2 copies of Effect Veiler.
Now, for the hand traps, did you ever think about playing Impermanence or upping the hand trap count at all?
Honestly, I thought about having the hand traps a bit, but as for Impermanence, I personally didn't want to run it because I run Shade Brigadine in this deck, and I feel like Impermanence can conflict with Shade Brigadine because Impermanence is slightly better than Veiler. I'm not going to argue against that at all. However, I think the scenario of getting Veiler Called by the Grave is niche enough where I would rather not risk not being able to go into Shade Brigadine and extend further, especially since I'm running the 3rd Phantom Knight monster, which makes it much more likely to go into Shade Brigadine as an extender on its own.
Alright.
Because if you discard Phantom Knight, you get Ash, then you can just go for extend further, where you couldn't if you had the Impermanent Grave. And now onto spells. Starting with the field spells, I ran 3 copies of Light Stage, 1 copy of Babel, and then the 2 Terraformings to go with it. I think this is perfect. I was testing out the Mystic Line package for a bit, but I just don't really think it's necessary in the main. I am starting it, however.
Alright.
And for spells, I guess the next category would be Extenders. The 1 Foolish Burial, the 1 Drones, the 3 Engages, and the 1 Booster. Oh my gosh, Booster was incredible. All day today, you search it off, and it's basically just like your 4th through 7th copy of Called by the Grave, except a bit better because you can use it on Impermanence. Because basically the way it would go would be you engage into Drones, summon Kagari, and then add back the Engage instead of the Drones, and then you add the Booster. So that way your Mermaid's pretty much guaranteed to go through unless they use double hand trap. And that helps quite a lot.
Alright.
And continuing on, of course, like I said before, the 3 Called by the Graves, just more disruptions. You want to make sure that your combo goes through as often as possible. Not to mention, when going second, especially against the Mirror, this isn't a terrible card because against the Mirror you can target the Ningrisu when they're trying to summon it back, and that'll hurt them a lot. And then finally, for the last of the spells, for your last 3 extenders, 3 instant fusions. This card is amazing. When going second, you can go into a copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict, which is huge for sucking up a monster and then allowing you to go Boral Sword of Decay. Or when you're going first, you can hopefully go Windlock. However, I was never able to resolve that in tournament just because anytime I had the ability to go window lock, they always hand trap me where I needed to use the instant for an extender. Still a really good card, super versatile card, absolutely love it. And for the last of the spells, 3 Twisters. Oh my god, this card overperformed so much. I played against a lot of very back-row heavy matchups. I played against 3 Salads in Swiss as well as 3 Altergeists. I lost to 2 of those Salads and a Striker. Those were my only losses in Swiss. And oh yeah, I was playing against only 1 Striker. So, but like I played against so many back row heavy decks. I absolutely loved this. This card is just a blowout against back row heavy decks in game 1. You really just want to see it. And if you're playing against, and if you're like going second against a non-back row heavy deck, worst case scenario, this is going to be a discard for a Nightmare or for a pretty much just like for a Nightmare or something like that later on. And then finally, going into the trap cards, the 1 Shade Brigadier, as I already said, 2 copies of Fogblade, and 1 copy of Crescendo. I noticed a lot of people have tended to start running 2 Crescendos. I think that's a good idea that can be worth testing. I just, for the event, I didn't have like as much time as I would like to play test, so I was just sticking with 1 with the ratios I feel comfortable with.
Alright.
And going on to the extra deck, 3 copies of Galatea, 1 copy of Wangirsu. I think this card is amazing, and the 3rd Galatea didn't come up a ton in Swiss, but it comes up enough in testing where I think it's correct to run it. The Kagari, because you're running the Striker package, and then for your Nightmares, I just ran Mermaid, Phoenix, and Cerberus. No Unicorn here. If I had a 16th slot, I definitely could see myself running Unicorn. The second Mermaid never came up throughout the whole event.
Did you ever consider cutting the 3rd Galatea for the Unicorn?
Yeah, however, it's just the 3rd Galatea comes up more often than the Unicorn does.
Alright.
And then for the final links, we're running the 1 Rusty Bardiche for the combo and the 1 Bowl Sword for when you just want to try and OTK your opponent. Continuing on with the Xyz monsters, I ran 2 copies of Dingirisu and 1 copy of Redoer. Redoer is such a powerful card. I absolutely love it. Just returning, the way you can disrupt by returning a card to the top of your opponent's deck, not only that completely removes the card from the way and disrupts in a way that Fogblade on its own can't, it also just makes it so you can play so much more greedily because you know what your opponent's going to draw and you don't have to worry about unexpected top decks ruining you.
Alright.
And double Dingirisu just because if you get your first one called by the graves when you Symbol Skeleton, you need the second, you won't, not necessarily need, but you'd really like the second one just to be able to go and on like 2 turns after just like swing in for like a big aggressive play.
Alright.
And finally, for the 2 extra monsters, Thousand Eyes, this card was amazing. You absorb stuff, you take over stuff. It outs Ray because they can't trigger Ray off of it. It outs the Rage and the Roar if they just have a Wolf on board. This card's amazing. It forces stuff out. And finally, 1 Winda. The Winter Lock is really powerful. I'll assume all of you know it's just when you end on Dingirisu and you instant fusion the Winda and just Dingirisu detach to protect the Winda.
Yeah.
Sadly, never came up in the actual event, but in testing comes up a ton. Well, not a ton, but like it comes up often enough where it's definitely worth running. I just got unlucky by never being able to do it in tournament. But overall, I was still top without it, so not necessary, but definitely nice to have, and I definitely keep running it.
Moving on to the side deck.
Yeah. Moving on to the side deck. My side deck, I feel like, was a bit unoptimized. It could have been better. But anyways, it was 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 3 copies of Artifact Lancia, 3 copies of Electric Virus.
Now, why did you decide to play Electric Virus?
I decided to play Electric Virus just because against Danger Thunder, since the majority of them would not be on Crystal Wing, it outs 2. Worst case scenario, it outs 2 of their interruptions. Best case scenario, it outs 3. So a card that's a +1 in worst case scenario is something you definitely want to be running.
Alright.
However, now that this card's called on in Crystal Wing's a lot more common, I don't think I would run Electric Virus after this event.
Alright.
And continuing on for the rest of the side deck, getting to the spells, we have for the side deck 2 copies of Mystic Mine, 1 copy of Set Rotation. I think these cards are really good. In hindsight, I probably would have tried to run a Black Garden just for Striker because, well, Black Garden is really good against them. But you have to sort of play weirdly about it. And like I said, I didn't have as much time testing as I would have liked, so they didn't go in, sadly. But continuing on, finally, for the only traps on the side, 3 copies of Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This card's amazing in theory. In practice, I was never able to I never drew Eradicator any of the times I sided it in. And I sided it in, I think, like 4 or 5 matches, so that sucked. But, you know, that happens sometimes.
Alright. Overall, you did very well.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't make. Would you make any changes if you had a second chance to go back?
Honestly, I'd probably change the side deck a fair bit. Like,
Putting in the Black Garden and possibly some more back row removal.
Absolutely, yeah. Back removal was also another thing that I definitely could have used more of. I'm thinking like cut the viruses for Black Garden and 2 Cosmics. And then for the extra deck, honestly, I don't know whether or not I need the third Galatea. Like, it's weird. But for overall, the main deck and the extra deck, I think would have been pretty much the same. I may have tried playing a second Crescendo, because there were a few scenarios where I could have seen that come up. But all in all, I'm really happy with my main and my extra, and I think my side could have used a bit of tweaking just to make it that much better.
All right. Well, congratulations on getting top 64.
Thank you.
That wraps up the video, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.